Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Through Marginalized. We're back alone. As much as I love my friends, love my friends. If you haven't watched the episode before this, True Colors, go stream it right now. But as much as I loved filling with with Connor, it's kind of nice being here alone, kind of a little more chill. I can actually do an intro this time because I won't feel like I'm intruding too much on his space. But yeah, we're in a different room today. Both visually, it will look different. I don't know if it will sound different, but I'm in the living room because I will go through my life updates and they'll make more sense as they go along. So I'm finally fully vaccinated. Well, actually, I just have to wait a week. But I've gotten both of my doses of the COVID vaccine, and which means I can go see my family on vacation. So in 2 days, I'm going on a flight to go see family I've literally not seen in 2 years. We used to see each other every summer, but after COVID, obviously, we couldn't do that. So I'm seeing them for the first time in 2 years, and I'm so excited. This will be going up the 10th, so I'll already be there once this goes up. But right now, I'm still going over the anxiety of, like, I have to pack and blah, 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 blah. And that also means that I've been doing a bunch of laundry, and I'm also packing. So there's a bunch of crap all over my floor. But there's a bunch of crap on my floor. I was gonna film this in my room with my laptop on my suitcase, but I was like, no, this is not comfortable. It doesn't look good. I'm just gonna go to the living room. So hopefully it doesn't sound too bad, and hopefully Simon doesn't get too agitated at the stuff that's right outside of the door, because the living room goes straight into the front of the house. So let's just hope it's not too bad today. But yeah, I'm just gonna go straight into the episode. I don't really know how much more intro we need. Today's episode is gonna be about my experience as a light-skinned Afro-Latina girl who lives in a suburb. It's gonna be my journey with my race, ethnicity, culture, and socioeconomic class. It's going to be stuff that I have gone through mentally, like mental challenges I've gone through, little like niche things that happen whenever you're a part of this group, and I had another word and I completely forgot. It's going to be about mental challenges I've gone through exploring my race and ethnicity, little niche things that you experience when you're a part of one of these communities at least, and also just experiences that I've had in my life due to my ethnicity. So I'm going to go over just a few things really quick. Today's disclaimers, because apparently we have to have a daily disclaimer, even though it's a weekly thing. Well, every week now, but daily disclaimer. It's gonna sound like I'm sharing a lot of personal information. If anybody in my family listens to this and tells me that they don't like it, I will take this down and we'll just forget this ever happened. But a lot of anything that I talk about today is stuff that I've coped with. Things might sound sad, things might sound weird, but everything that is in this is stuff that I'm comfortable with, so please, I don't want any pity after this comes out. But I'm going to be sharing a lot of it's going to be a more personal episode. I'm going to be sharing more of my personal experiences growing up. It will not only have to do with my ethnicity, it will have to do with the color of my skin, it will have to do with me being a girl, it will have to do with again, that's why I'm bringing class into this, because I think that also gives me a certain level of privilege over other people who would be like me, along with and also the culture that goes along with my ethnicities, because I don't think that race is the only thing that shapes our identities. If you guys haven't heard of the concept of intersectionality, it's basically like all the different parts of your identity, like it's different. The experience between a white woman and a woman of color, let's say more specifically a black woman, those experiences are going to be completely different, because a white woman will experience sexism, but a black woman will experience racism and sexism. And a lot of the times with someone with multiple identities or intersectionality, those different identities will weave together in a very unique way. So that's why a lot of things will be coming into the conversation today. So that's the intro to this video. So I'm going to get right into it. First, we're going to talk about my what I am. So I label myself as Afro-Latina. My mom side of the family is Afro-Caribbean. We are from the island of Dominica, not the Dominican Republic. Not the Dominican Republic. I have nothing against the Dominican Republic. I have something against people who say I'm from the Dominican Republic. Dominica is a completely different island. It's a small island in the Caribbean. It's like akin to like St. Kitts and all those other like islands in this kind of strip. I don't know how to. I've never been. I'm not in touch with that side of my culture as I'll get into it, but it's a different island from the Dominican Republic. It's very different, and so that's my mom's side, and then my dad's side is Puerto Rican. So my mom's side of the family, both of her parents are from Dominica, and then my dad's side of the family, both of his parents are from Puerto Rico. And I'm now here in Oklahoma, so I don't really know how that happened, but it did. So I'm gonna just kind of just give some synopsises. I know it's synopses. I thought it's not funny, but my mom and my dad, had me. My mom really wanted my dad to speak Spanish to me, teach me a lot about, Puerto Rican culture, like how just do things in Spanish, because she was very adamant on the point that, if you have the resources to teach your kids Spanish, you should do it. She has that very strong belief. And so apparently he didn't do that all the time. Apparently she didn't think he was doing the greatest job at doing that, and it's just funny to me. They did something right, because by the age of 2, I can count to 10 in English, but 20 in Spanish. So, still can. I can count to 21 in Spanish now. So, we've improved. But, so it was, basically it was very implemented early in childhood that my mom wanted me to be connected to my culture. Both my dad's side and her side. I think because she had this other side of culture on my dad's side that she was not able to display to me fully, because that's not what she grew up with. She really wanted him to teach that to me, the Spanish language, the kind of food that they cook, like that his family cooks, and stuff like that. While my mom was, my grandparents both live here in Tulsa. Well, my mom's side of my maternal grandparents both live here in Tulsa. And so I've always been surrounded by Dominican culture. But, my dad's parents and his family, my grandmother and my aunt and her kids live in Pennsylvania. So they're away. So I don't have as much connection to my Puerto Rican culture, and that's why my mom was very adamant about wanting me to learn, if that makes any sense. So my dad ended up dying when I was 2.5, and so my mom didn't really have that person that I need to be learning this stuff from. He wasn't there anymore, so she had to try her best, because she still wanted me to be connected to my Puerto Rican side. I mean, my last name is literally Velasquez. Like, it's my dad's name. It's very important to me. And so she tried her best to make sure that that part of my culture wasn't forgotten to me. So I moved from a gifted and talented private school to a Spanish immersion school when I went to kindergarten. And she said that she did this because she wanted me to go to a place where lots of different cultures were appreciated and celebrated and taught about. And as whether it worked or not, I don't think is the complete point, but I believe that she was truly trying her best being a single mother with what she had. I love that school to death. I don't think my life would be anywhere near the same if I went anywhere else. I that's where I learned most of my Spanish, was at that school. And the teachers were culture was everywhere. Like in second grade, we have to do cultural dances from different countries. If you ask anybody from there about that, they'll probably cry. But it was like they were very adamant about showing kids about the different kinds of cultures in Latin America. Like there's teachers from there's teachers from Mexico, there's teachers from Costa Rica, there's teachers from Spain, from El Salvador, there was somewhere else, and there was teachers from Honduras. That's what it was. Also from Honduras. So there was teachers from everywhere, like all over the world, and it was somewhere, the race of the kids wasn't what kids looked like didn't matter there. What mattered is learning your Spanish and being good at Spanish and learning as much as you can about the people around you. And I think that was something that was really valuable about that school. So speaking of school, I want to talk about some funny things that happen whenever you're Latina and in school. Even though a lot of the teachers were from Latin America, there were some that weren't, and there were some that even if they were Hispanic in some way, they didn't always know how to pronounce my name. So I feel like my name is worth mentioning because this is very important to me. So my name mostly comes from my dad. I have the name Maya because my dad was really, really, really into Native American culture, and so I'm named after the Mayan tribes that lived like the Aztecs in Mexico, and then they went to Arizona and New Mexico. That's what I'm named after. And also Velasquez, or Velasquez, I'm fine with either. I kind of want to implement the accent more because I think it's important to me. But some teachers could just not get my name right in anything. Like, I'm going to talk about school and then everywhere else where my name was important to the conversation. So when I used to go to Sunday school, they would give us name tags. And not to brag, but I was the teacher's favorite student. I was one of their favorite students, I can tell. I paid attention in class. I knew those Bible stories. I did all the stuff. They knew my name. They knew it was Maya. Maya. They somehow, for literally a year, managed to spell it wrong every single time. Every single time. M-I-A, Mia. That's not even Maya. That's Mia. M-Y-A, M-A-I-A. All the different spellings of my name that you could possibly think of. And this would and then people would also pronounce my first name wrong. Like, I can understand more if you pronounce my last name wrong. How do you pronounce Maya wrong? Maya. Mia. All the freaking time. My name would get pronounced wrong. And when I was in school, even to this day, I have some funny stories about that. But in school, in piano recitals, at my old school, before I went to the Spanish immersion school, people would always find a way to completely butcher my name. Every single time. My last name. Velasquez. Velasquez is the popular one is Velasquez, and then there's Velasquez. Just what kind of inflection even is that? I don't even know. Then the infamous Velasquez that I was called in front of the entire school in 8th grade by my own teacher, a teacher that I had for months, called me Velasquez. in front of the entire school during like a science fair award ceremony. And not only does your name always get pronounced wrong, it's always spelled wrong. Oh my gosh. Velazquez. Extra points if you get the accent on the A. Because it's there. It's written there. That's how it's supposed to be. That accent has never followed me anywhere. I take so much pride in the accent of my last name because it helps me feel a little bit more connected to my Spanish identity. And no one ever remembers it. Sometimes my best friends even forget it. People will spell my name. My own grandfather misspelled my name with S's instead of Z's for a couple years. People do VELASQUEZ or both S's. People will do VELEZ. Will do both E's the whole time. People. Literally, I was looking back at some books I had from piano. Because we have to order books as we level up. My name was spelled VALESQUEZ. The weirdest spelling I've ever seen in my name ever. So those are some little things you get when you grew up with a name that's ethnic. Quotes. It's really freaking annoying. People will confuse you for every other Hispanic identity or ethnic identity you can be besides the one that you are. My older brother can attest to this as well. People ask me if I'm Costa Rican. People ask me if I'm. People have asked me if I was Middle Eastern of some sort. People have asked me if I was. What was that? Someone called me something. People compare me to Moana all the time. No, I'm not Polynesian. My older brother, he gets compared to Aladdin all the time. People ask if he's Middle Eastern. People ask if he's Egyptian. People ask if he is Mexican. People ask if he's Cuban. People ask if we're all these different things besides what we are. And it's always, what are you? Not like what's your ethnicity? What are you? Where are you really from? Blah, blah, blah. Annoying times. That was my rant about my name. So that's kind of how you're perceived as a kid, and it's kind of like, oh, my name's just hard. But as you get older, you're like, oh, it's because people don't really take the time to care about your name when you're a person of color. Because most of the people who mispronounced my name were white and didn't care to change. Oh, it's fine. It's basically the same thing. It's basically the same thing. Whatever. So, as I got older, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because I think it gets more interesting once I hit middle school, because that's when things started happening. So in middle school, I obviously no longer went to elementary school. It was the first time I'd been in a class, because my graduating class of 5th grade had 69 people. Funny number. But there were 69 people in my class, and it went up to, I think it was 200 people per grade in middle school. So a lot more people, a lot kind of different people, and, in middle school, everyone is in their awkward stages, so it's not a very fun time. I was finally now in a world where there was a lot more diversity, but also everyone was trying to be someone else. This is also the time where I really delved into the internet. I was watching YouTube all the time. This is, the kind of age where you're faking your age to get on a Snapchat before you're supposed to, and Instagram before you're supposed to, and things like that. And you're finally absorbing a lot of standards that were had for people in your age range, for people of your ethnicity, for people who just look like you. Around me, I saw all these children who I grew up with start to act like they were cooler and more trendy, and like they'd always been like this their whole lives. But I noticed that a lot of the kids who did this were hanging out with black kids and and some of them even claimed that they were acting ghetto. And these people were, most of the time, not black. Like, white people, Mexican people, everyone just was trying to act black in middle school, basically. And as someone who was actually black, although I'm not the most black-looking person, I'm tinted a little bit, just not very much. It started to make me feel really insecure. And I'm not going to go on this rant of I wasn't black enough for the black kids and not white enough for the white kids, because I think that's a really weird conversation. But there are some elements of it that are true. But I think that a lot of people get tired of that kind of story. I want to talk about how, because I am African and African American people around me were basically attracting all these people, and people were appropriating their culture and stuff like that. But you see all these people who are trying to be something that they're not, and then you realize that you are technically that, but you don't act like that. And this is where my concept of race started to kind of develop, was in middle school. I started becoming really conflicted, because I didn't like a lot of the stuff that a lot of the people of color in middle school liked. I started feeling like an outcast. The only time I ever felt like myself was at home with not race but culture. My grandma on my mom's side was my best friend probably for a lot of time through middle school, and like her food and the stuff she'd talk about her stories growing up in Dominica and then coming here. I pretty much have her entire life story memorized. She taught me a lot about what it means to be a person, not just based on what you are. My mom also, with my uncles, had started a restaurant, and so I'm now constantly surrounded by culture because they made a Caribbean restaurant mostly based off of my grandma and grandpa's recipes from Dominica. So I'm having the food all the time. I go over to my grandfather's every week for Sunday dinner and eat his food, whether he makes baked potatoes and chicken or like oxtail or something. It doesn't matter. I'm still surrounded by those kind of people and ideas and stuff like that. But at school, I feel really left out because I don't have people of color around me anymore, because none of them like the things that I like, and the only reason they talked to me was to get homework answers. And that's when I started meeting the friends that I'm friends with now. I love my friends more than anything this world could ever offer me. I love my friends a lot. But it's really tough sometimes. All the friends that I met at school, in middle school, um, friends that I have in high school now, and then some of the friends I had in elementary school is a different story. But all the friends that I made in middle school are white. And it's very difficult to express how you feel about being a person of color, or not even a person of color. Like I had a lot of stuff going on in my life when I was between the ages of 9 and 10 that has left me with a lot of stuff I've had to deal with now because it was basically traumatic. I went through really bad depression when I was little, and so a lot of that has to stem with not being a person of color, but kind of the culture and traditionality and the just the environment that you're in when you're when you're surrounded by family that's from a different country. And it gets hard because you try to explain those kind of experiences to your white friends, and a lot of them will never understand. And you start to feel like a burden because you're having to explain like your whole life story, and they're just telling you to, tell your parents this, or just do this and blah blah blah. But they don't get that you can't just act like that around people that you love. For example, I didn't really want to bring sexuality into this, but it becomes important in this story. So for example, like I said in my other episodes, I am mostly coming out to my family through this podcast. I had come out to my mom, and she's been super chill. I love my mom. And I had come out to my grandma. And my grandma did not have the greatest response to me coming out because both sides of my family had grown up Catholic. I was raised Catholic. I was that's how I lived my life for a long time. And so when she didn't accept me at first, it hurt me a lot because she had been there for me with everything else that had happened in my life. But when it came to that specific thing, it was then an issue. So I went to go talk to my friends about it because all my friends are also queer. But the thing is, I think the show Love, Victor, the second season, does a really good job of explaining this kind of concept. But white people have a very different relationship with family as a concept than people of color do. Like I said, I love my friends a whole lot, but no matter what happens to my family, as long as they don't utterly hate me, I will be close to them no matter what. Every single member of my family is ridiculously important to me. And I'm not going to say everyone, but a lot of white people can just deal with saying, you don't deserve anyone in your life that's not going to accept you, and you should just cut them off. Or just start distancing yourself from them. You don't, and in a way I agree. You don't need to be around anyone that isn't going to accept you for who you are. But at the same time, it's not that simple, because a lot of our family is very traditional. But it doesn't mean that they don't have the capacity to learn. And just as much as I love the rest of my family, I know that they love me just as much too. And it's a very different experience trying to talk to people about, your family becoming more accepting and more progressive and everything, when it's something that will take time. And I think as I started, once I started, like, once I started coming to terms with the fact that I am the only a person of color in this friend group, I would, as a coping mechanism for months, I would make that I'm the token black friend of the group, because in a place where I finally felt like I had belonged, I now felt left out, because everyone, a lot of them could relate to my mental health struggles and things like that, but when it came to talking about black issues and political issues and issues in the Latino community and the Asian community, I just couldn't talk about that with them, because it was not something that they were interested in. And it hurt, because it felt like I shared everything with them, but this is one thing that they could never understand as much as I explained it to them. Okay, before I move on, I do want to touch on my dad's side of the family real quick. They're actually the people I'm going to go see. And they're actually the people I'm seeing in a few days. I'm so excited. But I just want to mention them, because they have always, both sides of my family have had it kind of rough with each other, but no matter what has happened, and no matter how they feel about other people in my family, they have always made time for me and teaching me about what it is being Puerto Rican. A few years ago, a lot of them would start, they talk in Spanish a little bit more around me, just because I understand it, just like more casually and everything. They try to teach me about the food that they eat. But also my cousins up there, they don't really like a lot of the food from Puerto Rico, because they're kind of picky eaters, but they try to teach me, because I'm more open to eating stuff like that. They just they try their best to tell me about what it's like being that part of me, and going over there in the summers is just kind of like a refresher to coming back here to Oklahoma. They really know how to take my mind off of things, and I just wanted to give them some credit for that, because they've just going over there has helped me through a lot of confusing points in my life, and yeah, I just appreciate them a lot, and it also helps me feel closer to the Hispanic part of me that I kind of missed out on. But now we're going to continue. So, again, with my friends, it's really hard to talk about people of color issues with them. And mostly because a lot of what I am interested in when it comes to people of color is politics. I'm a very political person. I like talking about politics. I like talking about social issues. That's the reason I started this whole dang podcast. I take pride in my critical thinking skills on topics like that. So, most of my friends are not into that stuff. But some of them are. My longest friend, besides my cousin, she is probably the closest I'm gonna get to anyone fully understanding me as a person. They are basically my sibling at this point, and they're white, but when we were little, I had straighter hair. It was wavy, and hers was wavy, and people would always get us mixed up for each other. But I think what I needed and what I need as where in the place that I am right now is just someone who is willing to listen to my perspective on things that have to do with race and with political issues regarding people of color and how my identity and how other people's identities as people of color affects politics and how it affects what we do as we move through life. And she has just always been able to hear me out and make me feel like I'm not always alone with my experiences. And Connor also is probably one of the only other people who understands me in that kind of deep way about my identity as a person of color, of understanding that this is you can't take the color away. They've always just been able to hear me out on my stances with things about my culture, even if they don't understand all the way. They're always able to listen to me and try to give me their ear on talking about stuff like this. To get into more specifics, I'm going to talk about the summer of 2020, which, besides my depressive episodes when I was 8 and 10, was probably my hardest time mentally in a long time. And it was for lots of reasons. But George Floyd was kind of the catalyst of what got me into taking activism more seriously. You know, that whole situation really showed a lot of people's true stances on things like that, and it has heightened political discourse in a way that I don't think will ever be changed. But I had finally found something where everyone like me and people who supported people like me could have our voices heard, and we can all rally together and fight for something extremely important. And so I started learning about all these things dealing with police, like the roots of police brutality, and what and how systemic racism actually affects people of color through the prison industrial complex, through the school to prison pipeline, and how microaggressions and stereotypes and how all those things from centuries ago still affect us today. And I was really proud of myself because I felt like I was making a difference because I was signing petitions, I was sharing petitions on my stories, I was posting dozens of educational tools, petition links, donation links, every single day for months. I was really defeated because my friends weren't backing me up on it. What I mean is, there a couple of my close friends were posting about it. It was Connor and my other best friend, but my other best friends, who I still love dearly, we're still perfectly close, but it was really distressing to me to see that they weren't posting anything whatsoever about the George Floyd situation, about Breonna Taylor, about Tony McDade, about Elijah McClain. And because I had finally found a place where I felt I needed to be in terms of like helping people and finding a purpose in like trying to combat racial prejudice and systemic racism in this country, and my own friends weren't backing me up, is what it felt like. And it made me really lonely for a couple months. I remember posting a couple things on my story, like, no matter how small your platform is, and things like that, you can, like, if you really believe in this stuff, just speak on it. We don't want it to be performative. I just wanted one of my friends or something to just post just Black Lives Matter or justice for George Floyd, or do any of the petition work and anything like that, because they would not only be supporting the victims of these terrible crimes, they would be supporting me and my identity as a person of color. And it didn't really happen. I was becoming really anxious and alone because of all of this. And I remember reaching out to my best friend and saying, like, if I don't say, like, I know this is going to be very uncomfortable to talk about, but I need to because I'm going to explode otherwise. And I talked to her about it, and I don't even remember what exactly was said, but she said that she was helping with stuff behind the scenes. And in the moment, that made me feel really good. So I was like, okay, I'm not alone in this fight for activism and stuff. But as much as I still love her more than anything, and I don't hold grudges against this at all, this is just me reflecting. The fact that they still weren't willing to post anything hurt after I had, like, got onto the heat of the conversation, because I still wasn't publicly supported, is what it felt like. So after a lot of people who were performative activists started dropping out of being publicly supportive of victims of police brutality and posting about informational sources, I kind of let it go with trying to convince my friends to do stuff, because if they were going to do it, it's too late. But I wanted to bring that kind of story up, and this might all sound like it's insignificant and doesn't mean it shouldn't mean as much as it does. But during the summer of 2020, I think I finally had the experience of what it's like being a person of color and not being heard. And the fact that that was the first time that has ever happened to me shows you how privileged I am. Like, I live in a really nice house. I am very light skinned. I'm not waiting for food on the table all the time. I'm not stared at in stores when people think that I'm stealing things. Whether that be because of me being black or Latina, whatever. I have good grades. I have a job. I I am just a very privileged person. And the fact that that was the first time that I had ever experienced being alone, truly alone, and not heard as a person of color, shows you that. But I wanted to bring that story up because this social activism that happened during 2020 brought I have to move my mic, brought a lot of people together. I know it brought some people apart, but it brought a lot of people together. Even though I don't know half the people that I see on my For You page, I'm on social activist TikTok. I feel a certain connection to them immediately because I know we share common values and morals on human rights and people's right to live and what it's like being us in this society. And when I think about that, I think about all the people who aren't as lucky as me to only feel alone whenever you're talking about someone else's tragedies. What if I was darker skinned? What if I didn't live in this nice house? What if I was the one who was racially targeted? Or had family that was racially targeted in an area that was racially targeted? And people still didn't believe me or want to stand with me. And people wouldn't stand with me until it became a trend. So, in conclusion, I just want to say that I'm still exploring a lot of things that have to do with my ideologies, with my political stance, with my culture, with my ethnic background, and my race. But what I know is that it is slowly becoming more prevalent in my life. And it is slowly going to become a bigger factor once I step out into the real world. And it gets kind of scary to me because I don't know who's going to see me as what. Because I know who I am. I'm Maya. But I don't know who's going to see me as a no good, need to go back to your country immigrant. Who's going to see me as one of the good ones. I don't know who's going to see me as a slur. Or who's going to see me as lazy. Or am I going to be used as an excuse as to why other people of color aren't doing why aren't other people of color doing as good as you? I don't know what that's going to be for me. But that's why I want to recognize my privilege and what I am. Yes, I'm a person of color. But I am also I live in a very good area. I have access to all the necessities. We're not struggling financially anymore. I can use my voice with what I've made for myself to help those that need it more. Whether that be for advocating for justice, for people who are behind bars who don't need to be, whether that be for advocating for programs for underprivileged people to get better education and better jobs. I can use both my identity as a person of color and someone who has a lot of privilege to achieve a lot in this world. And it's taken me a long time to come to terms with a lot of this, and I'm still coming to terms with a lot of this today. But I think if all of us, whether we're with or without color, whether we're extremely privileged or not, to take the time to examine yourself and see what you can do for others with what you have. For me, I hope to inspire as many people as I can to educate themselves on issues they don't know much about any topic, on race, on ethnicity, on politics, on sexuality, on just humanitarian issues on the planet. But that's what I'm lucky enough to do myself. Again, with my privilege. But I guess what I'm trying to say is the journey for people of color is different for every single person. And not one of us is the same or close to the same. All of our journeys are going to be extremely different. And I am just hoping that more people will give us the chance to just discover ourselves and grow and be who we want to be, what we want to be. And I hope that other people pronounce my name right. That's the moral of the story. I hope that more people can pronounce my name right. But this episode could have gone in many directions, and there's a lot of other things I can talk about when that comes to my identity, but I think that all of those topics can be explored in later episodes that will be more in depth on certain issues. But yeah, just in summary, I'm proud to be who I am, whatever I am, even if I'm not as connected to my culture as I want to be, even if I can't relate to other people of color all the time, even if white people don't understand me, I'm still me, and the people who are closest to me they will always be with me to help me achieve whatever I need to achieve and help whoever I need to help using the power invested in me. This is a very confusing episode. I don't even know if this will make sense. I don't even know if I'm going to post this one. But I don't know. This is a very interesting topic to me. And I hope I get to explore this internally and explore the deeper parts of where I come from in the future. I hope this makes sense. This probably makes no sense, but I'm trying my best. I am going to now do the song recommendation of the week. Well, not of the week anymore. Of the episode. The song recommendation. This week's song recommendation is going to be Field Trip by Melanie Martinez. She's a I think she's Puerto Rican also, but I know she's, sorry, Simon got upset. I know she's Dominican, I think, and Puerto Rican. And she's a singer-songwriter. They have some really, really pretty cool music. You should totally listen to them. But more specifically, Field Trip, because kind of has a lot to do with this song, with this episode, actually. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. Hopefully this makes some sense once I look over this. And next episode could possibly be with my older cousin, and we're still going to figure out what that's going to be about. So I don't have a preview for you guys this time, but thank you guys so much. Catch you in the next one.